Welcome back, everybody. This is Thomas, and I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that supported the channel this year. I've had a lot of time off during the holidays, so I just thought it'd be fun to go through the year of all my pickups and talk about what my favorites were as far as collecting. So I still have some more diorama projects coming, but I thought this would be a great time to go ahead and make my own list. So let's check it out, and once again, thank you. Number 10. And for my top 10 pick, I'm going with Robin from the DC Multiverse McFarlane toys. Now, objectively, I know Nightfall Batman is the better of these two figures, but I've always loved the Tim Drake Robin. It was one of the first comic books that I went and bought with my own kid money, so the character does mean a lot to me. It might not be the best figure, it could even probably go on some of its own worst lists, but it's definitely a favorite for me. And I'll never forget one of those first runs by Chuck Dixon and seeing Robin splash out of that window, giving me some great diorama ideas for the future. But I'm really hoping that eventually that Mafex will make their own, and then I can knock this one off the list. Number 9. My top 9 pick goes to Indiana Jones, and I was in love with the whole first wave of the Adventure series, but I am really sad that this line doesn't seem like it's going to continue. You know, there's lots of characters that they said from the beginning they wouldn't do, like some soldiers, but I understand. I did love the build an artifact piece of it. I thought that was really fun, but just having a 6-inch Indiana Jones in the collection has been really special for me. Now, I've always loved the character. I loved all 3 of the original films. I probably didn't like Crystal Skull, but I did like the newer movie. And one of my favorite things about Indiana Jones was the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular at Walt Disney World. Hopefully that might be some inspiration for a future project I have. Number 8. And for my 8th pick, I'm going with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 figures by NECA. Now, these figures are a lot different than the first and second movie figures. They have so much armor, so much more detail. So, considering being one of the worst movies, I think this gave us some of the best figures. And what a year 2023 has been. So for the same year we're getting these figures from one of the worst movies of that franchise, we're also getting some Batman and Robin figures from McFarlane from one of the worst movies of that franchise. So really interesting to get both. But if I had to pick one figure for my top 8, I'm always going to go with Donatello. Still one of my favorite figures. Love all the armor. They did a great job with all of these. Number 7. And for my top 7 pick, I'm going with the Jakks-Pacific Mario and Luigi from the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And I don't know why Jakks-Pacific went all out with these figures, but I'm glad they did. And what's kind of cool is that these transcend between adult collector toys, but also children's toys. So definitely a wide fan base for these figures, but they have great articulation, great detail. I loved everything about the movie, so to have these on the shelf finally was really exciting. And I was always the younger brother, so Luigi was always my guy. He will be my favorite of the two. So I always pick my favorites based on nostalgia, and that's why Luigi gets the top pick. But they both share some of that great detail, the stitching on their dungaree overalls, and they even put detail on the bottom of their foot, which I didn't think they needed to do, but I love that they went the extra step. So my top 7 pick goes to Luigi. Number 6. And for my top 6 pick, I'm going with the Dinosaurs figures from NECA. And we know that they crush it with these Muppet style figures. We saw how great they did with the Owl figure, but to have these in action figure form is amazing. I had these figures growing up and they were like a hard, soft plastic almost with 1 point of articulation at the waist. So to have these in fully articulated action figure form is pretty amazing. And I do hope they round out the whole entire family. I would love a Robbie. I never had him as a kid, but the one that is my favorite of the two is Baby. Now, Baby's going to live in this high chair in my display, so I really don't need all that articulation, but if I did want to take him down for photos, I'm glad I have the option now. And I've been thinking of diorama ideas for these two figures. I don't know if I should do the outside of the house, if I should do the kitchen, the living room. Either way, I'm going to have to build out a display for all of these figures once they get here. Number 5. And for my top 5 choice, I'm going with Valor vs. Action Force. In particular, the all-female wave. Straight up military toys just really aren't my thing, but when he came out with these female figures, seeing all the different hairstyles and the tattoos, it really did speak to me. So I love what he's doing with the line of options that you get, all the accessory packs, but these two figures stand out the most to me, and that is Gemini and Eclipse Warpath. Now I suited up Gemini with some weapons from one of the weapons packs, so she looks cool, but I think out of the box, Warpath Eclipse has to be my top favorite from this line. The face paint, the dark colors, I really think it completes the look with some of these other ladies, so really happy to have them in my collection, and I'll show you how I mix and match these with other lines coming up soon. Number 4. And for my fourth pick, I'm going with the Jada Toys Street Fighter figures. I don't know where Jada Toys came from. I knew they were making like die-cast vehicles, but ever since they started doing the cereal mascot brands, Chester Cheetah, and then announcing these Street Fighter figures, I knew I had to have them. And I was a child of the 90s collecting Real American Hero Gijoe figures, and they had a subline of Street Fighter figures, and these are all the ones I still have, but I'm looking to recreate or update all of these figures in my collection with these Jada Toys. So of the two, I love Ryu. I think he came out pretty good, but my favorite has to be Chun-Li. I just love the sculpt of this figure. I think her proportions are perfect, and she even comes with that awesome effects piece, so you can get her in that great kicking pose. So really cool figures, really excited to see where this line goes. So this will take my top 4 pick. Number 3. And for my number 3 spot goes to Spiro Toys Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Now in the 90s we had all sorts of anthropomorphic animal toy lines, but this one really hits home. It's something new mixed with something old. I just love all the designs, especially the bright colored ones. So I really had to get those two characters, Blight and Pale, but the one that is really my favorite is Vero. I just love how all the colors pop, the purple, the gold, the white. I think it all works well. I have a few of these figures on pre-order that I'm still waiting on, so I'm hoping they come soon, and some of the deluxe releases that they just announced look fantastic. So if you haven't heard of Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, definitely check them out. They're growing really popular, but I think these are on a few people's top list, and I'm really glad to have these in my collection. Number 2. And for my number 2 pick, I'm going with Plunderlings by Lone Coconut. Now these figures are from the Kickstarter to get the Plunderlongs and Plunderstrongs. So you get those big, massive bruiser characters, and then you get kind of these tall, lengthy characters, which are the Plunderlongs. Love the designs. The Plunderstrongs are definitely my favorite, just because to have these figures in kind of a bigger scale is really cool. They go great with the entire collection with all the different colors. But my favorite of these Plunderstrongs is Blackjack. I love the captain's hat, the admiral coat, and he comes with this super large, imposing cannon. I'm really sad that I missed some of the accessory packs that go with this figure, so hopefully I'll be able to get my hands on them. So if you haven't checked out Plunderlings, definitely go check them out. They're such a cool addition to my display. Honorable mentions. Now, I'm really surprised that not enough Marvel Legends made it to my top 10 list, but I do think there were some diamonds on the rough. This Green Goblin from Spider-Man No Way Home, he was really good, really expensive, but pretty awesome. And then having Spiral kind of round out my X-Men villains, I thought she was a fantastic figure. It's still not enough to make it to my top 10. Marvel Legends, they were coming out so much, it just felt like a chore keeping up with them, so I definitely slowed down. Another one that I thought was pretty fantastic was Cosmo the Space Dog Build-A-Figure from Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Really, I wanted to see more animals. I think Hasbro would do a good job making kind of generic animals. I know we're getting some from G.I. Joe, but I think it would be so cool to just get a line of dogs. I think that would be awesome in any kind of display. So I know we are always asking for civilian figures, but I'd love some dog figures as well. I was also pretty surprised not to have any of the Tmnt NECA Toon line from NECA on my top 10, but none of the figures that came out this year were really like my favorite figures. I just felt like I had to have them to complete the display, but if I had to choose two, it would be Rex 1 and Dirk Savage. Great accessories, they look great in the display, especially Dirk Savage. I just love that there's so many mutants you can pair him with, so really cool characters and a must-have in your Toon line. And a silly honorable mention that I'm sure is on everyone's top 10 list are these McDonald's McBuddies. Now, most of the figures I ordered this year were online, so I really just had to wait for them to show up. So there really was no thrill of the hunt, and chasing these down brought back a lot of nostalgia, but I can tell you I don't eat McDonald's, and after the third Happy Meal, I wasn't feeling too great. I did get the one I wanted though, with the McDonald's hat. That will look great in my Halloween McDonald's display that I have, so really happy these came out. Number 1. And for my number 1 pick of 2023 is G.I. Joe Classified Chuckles from Hasbro. I don't know what happened. I said I wasn't going to collect these figures, and then so many cool releases were coming out this year that I just couldn't resist. So I'm putting Chuckles as my top figure of the year just because of the fun packaging he came with, all of the accessories. He comes with a set of handcuffs and broken handcuffs, you know, so you can have him look like he was being interrogated. He comes with the lei, the Hawaiian shirt. Really just the whole package was super cool. I had this figure growing up. I think he's long gone, or he's either in a bin split in half somewhere. So I just really enjoyed opening this figure and bringing back all the nostalgia. And as I mentioned before, I display my Action Force figures with my G.I. Joe, probably like most people, but I think with the extra added Street Fighter line, because I had those Street Fighter G.I. Joe figures, this is how I will display those figures. So G.I. Joe, Valaverse, and also those Street Fighter, to me, all live in the same world, at least on my shelf. So while Chuckles is my number 1 pick, it's really just the whole G.I. Joe Classified line, just because there's so many options to display and play with. And folks, that's a wrap for my top 10 list of 2023. This has been a great year for collecting. I definitely went outside of my box of what I was normally collecting, tried some new toy lines, and it was not disappointing. So definitely a great year for figures, hoping this next year is just as good or better. And folks, I'm still working on lots of diorama projects, so hopefully you check this video out, but don't worry, I'll be back with some more builds soon. But until then, we'll catch you next time.